On August 20th, 1919, Joe Wilhoit, playing for the Wichita Jabbers baseball team in the Western minor leagues, sets a record that has still to this day never been broken when he ended his 69-game hitting streak. We often remember Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak, but we forget about Joe Wilhoit going above and beyond that, engraving his name into the history books for a record that will probably never be broken in professional baseball. Today we're going to dive into the history behind how he got to 69 games. Today on Daily Sports History. Welcome to Daily Sports History. I'm Ethan Reese, your guide to a rapid deep dive into sports history every day. And today's trivia question to listen out for is, who has the second longest professional baseball hitting streak? Now, Joe was born in Kansas in 1885 and grew up loving baseball and was great in the field and was one of the fastest players in his era. He was able to work his way up in 1916 to be part of the Boston Braves and would bounce around for the next few years, going from the Braves to the Pittsburgh Pirates to the New York Giants, where he won a World Series, but only appeared in 2 games as a pinch hitter, where he went 0 for 1 with a walk. So the Giants traded him to a minor league team in the 1918 season as he was struggling with hitting, as he was a career .257 hitter, which wasn't bad for the time. And he joined Seattle in the Pacific Coast League, and he struggled mightily there, hitting with a batting average in his 17 games there of .165. And then he would get traded to the Wichita Jabbers of the Western League mid-season, as the Jabbers were running out of outfielders, as they were playing pitchers in the outfield, and they needed just someone to be able to fill that role. It didn't matter that he was struggling to hit. He was still a great fielder and was one of the better fielders of his era. But in his first 25 games with Wichita, he only batted .198. And that's when the coach tried to help him in his quest, help him better his hitting. And one of the things he did was Joe was using a heavier bat, as it was more common back then to use a heavy, thick bat to try to get more power out of your hits. And so the coach in Wichita changed to a lighter bat, and this seemed to change everything as Joe emerged from his slump and started to go on a streak, starting on June 14th, 1919. And not only did this help him as a player, it also helped the team as they went from bottom of the league to contending for the league title. As during the streak, he hit over 500 with 4 home runs, 9 triples, and 24 doubles. But what it really changed was they moved Joe to the leadoff spot because of his speed, and this gave him more opportunity to extend his streak, as 19 times in his streak he only had 1 hit. And he wasn't a guy that hit for power. He often bunted to get on base and legged out many ground balls. And in his 62nd game, it took until the 11th inning before he got his first hit, which was a game-winning home run. And if he wouldn't have gotten that, Joe DiMaggio would have tied his record in 1933 when he was in the Pacific minor leagues, when he hit a 61-game hitting streak, which meant they would have been tied for the most. But as it stands now, DiMaggio has second at 61, and Joe Wilhoit is first at 69. The streak finally ended on August 20th, 1919, facing off against Tulsa, where he struck out, hit a pop fly, hit a ground out, and was walked in his final at-bat. But despite this, the fans in the park and the crowd actually took a collection for Joe and were able to give him $600 for his contributions during the streak. Later, which just a few years earlier, when he won the World Series, he was paid almost $2,500, as minor leagues do not pay as much as majors. And despite this hitting success, but after this hit streak, the Red Sox were able to buy his contract to help them finish out the season, as he had a bidding war from almost every team in the National and American League after he had passed a 50-game hitting streak. When Joe joined the Red Sox, he was still on a hitting hot streak, as he hit .333 in his final 18 at-bats. But despite this, he was again sent down to the minors, never to make it back to the major leagues again. And a few years after, he would go on to retire, and him and his wife would move to Santa Barbara, California, where they would open a luggage store. And sadly, in 1930, he became ill and lost his life to lung cancer, and would essentially be forgotten from the league, as we only remember Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hit streak in the majors, which wasn't even Joe's highest hit streak, as he hit 61 when he was in the minors. But the 69-game hit streak will probably never be passed again, just like Joe's will never be passed. It's a very difficult thing to pass, as longevity, as hitting consistently is difficult, and pitching has become way better than what it was back in the day, and become even more specialized. But Joe Wilhoit should be remembered for his 61 games. We often forget about the records that people set. Even if it's not in the major leagues, he was a professional baseball player, facing off against other professional players, many of whom went on to play in the majors or had played in the majors, just as he had. And he was able to, in a short 4-year major league career, win a World Series. That and his record is something no one can ever take away. And so he can be immortalized with that forever in baseball lore. Thank you for listening to today's Daily Sports History. If you like this, please tell a friend, share it wherever you're listening so that more people can become sports historians just like you. And come back tomorrow for more Daily Sports History. And did you catch the answer to today's trivia question? Who has the second longest hit streak of all time? The answer is Joe DiMaggio, who hit 61 while he was in the minor leagues, which was 8 less than Joe Wilhoit.